Coming up today, after years of negotiations, the United States, Japan and 10 Pacific Rim nations signed a massive trade deal known as the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Korea says it will strive to sign up in the near future. A US research institute says there's no evidence to support claims North Korea is preparing to launch a long-range rocket this week. Plus, NATO demands Russia end airstrikes on the Syrian opposition and focus its efforts on Islamic State militants. It also warns Moscow to stay out of Turkey's airspace. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Tuesday, the 6th of October. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broome. Our top story this afternoon, trade negotiators have reached a historic agreement on what has become the world's largest free trade pact. Once ratified, it will remove trade barriers for 12 countries. The talks that kicked off 5 years ago involve countries that account for roughly 40% of the global economy, including the United States, Canada and Japan. So how big a deal is the TPP? Kim Min-ji reports.
They're calling it a historic agreement. After 5 years of talks, trade negotiators from 12 countries have struck a deal that will reduce tariffs on almost 18,000 categories, ranging from automobiles to food, and set standards for labor and the environment in the trade bloc.
We've come to an agreement that will support jobs, drive sustainable growth, foster inclusive development, and promote innovation across the Asia-Pacific region.
The trade pact, called the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, involves the U.S., Japan, Malaysia, Vietnam, and 8 other Pacific Rim countries, which together account for about 40% of the global economy. It is the largest trade pact ever, making up for more than a quarter of the world's trade volume, and covers a combined population of almost 800 million. Supporters of the deal say the agreement will facilitate higher-paying jobs as well as boost productivity and competitiveness and raise living standards in member countries. Some also see it as a way to counter a rising China, which is not a member of the agreement, and paves a way to open new markets for American companies. However, critics have not been happy about negotiations, saying they have been overly secretive in nature, and argue that the trade deal will benefit large corporations and shift more jobs overseas. Although the deal is being concluded, this is just the first step in what is likely to be a long road ahead, as the participating countries take the deal back to their governments for approval. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Now, Korea is not one of the countries involved in this mega trade pact, and analysts say the decision could hurt local exporters already struggling with decreased domestic demand. Now, the Korean government has signaled its intent to join, but the big question is when it will make the move. Shin Se-min reports.
Korea isn't one of the 12 founding members of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and that has exporters concerned. There are fears Korea could lose the competitive edge it has built up through numerous bilateral free trade pacts, especially its deal with the United States. Korean exporters currently enjoy an edge over their Japanese rivals in the U.S. as Tokyo doesn't have an FTA with the U.S. With the mega trade deal reached, the Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency says Korean manufacturers in the automobile, auto parts, and display sectors will suffer from an erosion of their price competitiveness. Korean firms involved in the oil, chemicals, and construction sectors may also be at a disadvantage. While earlier expressing an interest in joining the TPP, Korea has prioritized bilateral free trade deals, including its recent agreement with China. Currently, Korea has trade pacts with countries that make up 75% of the global economy. Korea has either concluded or is in the process of concluding FTAs with 60 separate countries or economic blocs. Korea's trade ministry has welcomed the TPP agreement and said that Seoul will strive to join the mega trade bloc in the near future. However, experts say the government should carefully weigh its options before joining the bloc. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
North Korea has made fresh claims about its military prowess ahead of a key political anniversary this weekend. In a program aired Monday, it showed off an intercontinental ballistic missile and a new cruise ship and sought to legitimize its previous rocket launches. Connie Kim reports.
North Korea aired a 30-minute special program on Monday, boasting about its military might and its ability to miniaturize nuclear bombs. The program, broadcast ahead of a key political anniversary this weekend, was also aimed at justifying the legitimacy of the regime's previous rocket launches. It claimed past launches and those in the future are merely aimed at putting satellites into orbit. The program also showed the North's KN-08 intercontinental ballistic missile, while pointing out that North Korea has conducted 3 nuclear tests. The narration also made an ominous threat to the U.S.
The historic experiment helped us produce miniaturized atomic bombs with great explosive power. They will target the United States.
The program also displayed North Korea's newest cruise ship that was built on Kim Jong-un's personal orders, specifically to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the founding of North Korea's Workers' Party. According to the program, the 4-story, 3,500-ton cruise ship can hold up to 1,200 passengers.
It felt like yesterday when our dear leader came to see our ship prior to the port opening. He looked after us like our father.
Experts say North Korea intends to promote Kim Jong-un and his late father's achievements through such propaganda broadcasts in the run-up to its Workers' Party anniversary ceremony this Saturday. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Now, a US research institute is seeking to quash speculation North Korea is about to launch a rocket, saying there's no evidence whatsoever to support the claims. North Korea monitoring website 38 North disclosed recent satellite imagery of the Sohae launch facility on Monday and explained that it wasn't showing anywhere near the level of preparation required for an imminent launch. Senior editor of the website, Joel Witt, assessed that it was almost impossible for a launch to take place around the 70th anniversary of the country's ruling Workers' Party on October 10th. However, the expert did note that North Korea is in the process of upgrading its facilities at the rocket test site, possibly to test larger engines that could be used in larger rockets. US Deputy Secretary of State Tony Blinken is in Seoul for talks with officials at South Korea's foreign ministry. Blinken will hold a one-on-one meeting with Vice Foreign Minister Jo Tae-yong and pay courtesy calls to Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se and Unification Minister Hong Yong-pyo. They are expected to discuss North Korea issues and President Park Geun-hye's upcoming visit to the US. The head of the International Atomic Energy Agency is also in town. Yukiya Amano will also meet with Foreign Minister Yoon and hold talks with local nuclear energy officials on ways to boost two-way cooperation. Now, NATO has issued a sternly worded warning to Russia about its air raids over Syria. The alliance is also urging Moscow to stop any further incursions by its warplanes into Turkish airspace. Russia claims it is a simple misunderstanding, but tension over Russia's active involvement in Syria is growing. Kwon Jang-oh has more.
Russia's defense ministry was quick to offer an explanation for the warplanes that violated Turkish airspace over the weekend.
The incident is the result of unfavorable weather conditions in the region. There is no need to look for conspiracy theories here.
The Turkish Prime Minister confirmed in a television interview that Russia had been in contact over the incident and promised it would never happen again. NATO has called the incident irresponsible and unacceptable. US Secretary of State John Kerry has also expressed his dismay.
We're greatly concerned about it because it is precisely the kind of thing that, had Turkey responded under its rights, could have resulted in a shoot-down. And it is precisely the kind of thing that we warned against.
The incident has raised further tensions between Russia and Western coalition forces after airstrikes by Russia, which claimed it was targeting Islamic State and Al-Qaeda groups, have hit more Western-backed rebel forces. NATO and the US-led Western alliance have reiterated that Russia's provocative actions are only escalating the conflict and that it should focus its efforts on fighting ISIS. Russia waded into the Syrian conflict last week and has carried out dozens of airstrikes so far. But nervousness is growing as reports about a troop buildup and a possible Russian ground offensive are also starting to surface. Although the US has continued to support rebel forces fighting against the regime of Syrian leader Bashar al-Assad, there are no signs yet that it has any plans to put boots on the ground. Kwon Jang-woo, Arirang News.
Now, former chairman of the US Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke, says there should be no rush to raise interest rates. Speaking on US network CNBC on Monday, Bernanke said inflation is still lower than the Fed's 2% target and full employment is only starting to emerge. He also said there was too much reliance on the Fed and called on other policymakers in the US government to step up to the plate. Bernanke's comments come as the debate turns to whether the Fed will raise rates from near zero at its next meeting at the end of this month. However, most analysts believe the Fed will wait until early next year before making its move. Korea is third in the world for its exports in the information and communications technology sector, moving up one spot from last year. According to the Institute for Information and Communications Technology Promotion, the nation's ICT exports reached $71 billion in the January to May period, behind China and the US and ahead of Germany and Japan. Korea has seen its exports decline this year, but the ICT sector has seen its outbound shipments rise 0.01% from last year. Market tracker Gartner expects the global ICT market to shrink 5.5% this year from the year before. And industry watchers say recent data indicates Korea may be one of the few to gain ground in the sector worldwide. Korean workers could see an increase in unemployment benefits in a couple of years' time, but they will have to have been employed for a longer period to qualify for support. Under a new plan proposed by the ruling Saenuri Party, eligible workers will receive 60% of their average past wages. That's a 10% increase from the current 50%. The plan would also extend coverage for 30 days beyond the current period of between 90 and 240 days, increasing the coverage to between 120 and 270 days. In addition, people over the age of 65 will be eligible for coverage as well. To receive the benefits, eligible workers will have to have been employed for more than 270 days for 24 months. Right now, they're required to have worked for 180 days over 18 months. Now, in some cultural news, thousands of people are in Korea's southern port city of Busan for one of the largest film festivals in Asia. But the Busan International Film Festival is not just a place for stars and fans to enjoy a good movie. For some, it's a golden opportunity to inch that little closer to their dreams. Kim Ji-yeon reports.
Young aspiring filmmakers have a lot to look forward to at this year's Busan International Film Festival, or BIF. That's because the festival's Asian Film Academy invited some of the world's most talented filmmakers, including Singaporean director Anthony Chan. His debut film, Ilo Ilo, won Cannes' most prestigious Gamma d'Or Prize in 2013. The movie plot centers on the inseparable bond between a 10-year-old Singaporean boy and his Filipina nanny.
It's indeed, inspired by a lot of childhood memories, a lot of people who crossed my life when I was growing up, in Singapore. The film is set in 1997 during the massive Asian financial crisis. And, I think with most first films, with most debut features, it's always good to go to the personal, to tell a story about what you know, and that was what I did.
Chen says BIF is one of the most important events for Asian filmmakers like him because it brings them together.
This is where a lot of young Asian filmmakers are nurtured, are discovered early in their careers. This is where you meet some of the top distributors from across Asia. This is where filmmakers from all around the region, that's where we hang out.
Chen says Asian filmmakers have a unique sort of sensitivity in their films compared to their Western counterparts. Expressions are more restrained and delicate, but underneath it belies a certain rigor, which underscores the beauty of cinema. It is this quality Chen hopes to bring out of Asian filmmakers he's mentoring at the Asian Film Academy this year.
I think it's very important to stay true to your heart, to always make films that you want to make films from here, and not make films because you're being forced, by the market or by producers or by companies to make certain compromises. I think that's the way Asian filmmakers can play at the top of the game and really be up there on the global stage.
The next film produced by Chen called Distance premieres next month. Kim Jia, Arirang News.
Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broome. Thank you as always for tuning in. We'll be back throughout the day with more newscasts. Goodbye.